Hello and welcome to Walkie-Talkie number 6. I am walking on a country road in Hungary, in the beautiful province of Somogy. And those of you who saw my previous walkie-talkie may think, well, he was in Slovenia, what's he doing in Hungary? What's up with that? So if you'd like to know why I spend a lot of time in Hungary, you can find that out in the About Me pages on my website, and I will link to those in the description below this video. So yes, I spend a lot of time in Hungary. It's kind of my second home country, and this area is really quite pretty. It's a mix of agriculture and forests, a little south of Lake Balaton, and the autumn colors are beautiful. It's a very nice day now. It will get colder and more rainy, but this is really a great day to walk and talk a little. And I was thinking of continuing a little bit where I left off last time, in Slovenia, when I talked about the notion that we always project maps onto reality, and that there's no such thing as separate things in reality if you take a closer look. And all of that is really quite a difficult subject matter. Like, I will come back to that often, because it's not something that in a 10-minute walkie-talkie can be expounded on sufficiently. So the notion that there are no separate things and that everything is one continuum, and that we project a map onto reality that does provide for separate things and really kind of emphasizes the separateness of things. That's really embedded in our culture and in our mindset. And all of us have been sort of really well, indoctrinated sounds a little too negative maybe, but we've been really immersed in this worldview which sees the world as existing from separate parts. And so it's not so easy to let go of that worldview, and it's not so easy to even sort of have a vision of what that would be like if we do not project this map of separate things onto the world. And someone who has been working a lot on that in the previous century was process philosopher Alfred North Whitehead. He's not so well known to the public at large, I think, but he was one of the greatest minds of the 20th century, and I think he will come to be recognized as one of the greatest philosophers of the 20th century. He was a mathematician also. He wrote one of the most influential books on mathematics, Principia Mathematica, together with his student Bertrand Russell, who went on to become a renowned philosopher himself, of course. And Alfred North Whitehead is the father of what is called the school of process philosophy. And with this process philosophy kind of radically departed with most of other Western philosophy. He basically said what I said on my last walkie-talkie. He stated, in a very small nutshell, of course, that there are no such thing as separate things and no such thing as bits of matter that exist independently from another, that there are only relationships and patterns, and that are always in flux and are interdependent. So you can't take a thing out of a context. Everything is embedded in a field and is relational. So, and his views, which he wrote down in some books that are really hard to digest, so I've been told. I'm just beginning to scratch the surface of Alfred North Whitehead's work myself. He's been very influential, though, in a number of fields, like ecology, because he was one of the people who laid the foundation for a systems ecological view of looking at things, at the world. But also in physics, in metaphysics, in theology, in education, in biology. So his work, even though it's quite difficult, has had a lot of influence in various domains. And he coined a nice phrase, Alfred North Whitehead, in regards to how we take the map for real, more real than the actual terrain. And Alfred North Whitehead used to say that that is the fallacy of misplaced concreteness. The fallacy of misplaced concreteness. So it's a mistake to think that a symbol is more real than what it represents. And a map represents the terrain, the world. But we're so used to looking at maps, and we're surrounded by maps all the time, and we pay so much, we attach so much importance to maps, that the actual experience of the terrain has kind of vanished or receded into the background. And Alfred North Whitehead also suggested that it's really important that we come to see everything in the world as process rather than independently existing things, because only that way, he thought, we could start seeing the right path towards being in balance with our ecosystem, with the biosphere, because he said, like I said in the previous Walkie-Talkie, that we are an integral part of this whole interconnected web in which nothing exists independently. So, and also his notion, which he added to that, is that all of our choices matter because of that, because we're so inextricably intertwined with the whole of the natural world. Each of us has an impact. And so whatever we choose to do matters on an individual level, which is also what Jane Goodall used to say time and time again, and which I quoted in my little ode to Jane in the last musing. So, the fallacy of misplaced concreteness. Another example of a misplaced concreteness is money. For example, money is a token, a symbol, but we think it is wealth. And we think if we have a lot of money that we're wealthy. But drop a person with $1 million in a backpack in the wilderness, and I don't think he will survive for long. You can't eat money. In fact, you can't really do anything with it. Maybe light a fire, it might be helpful for that, but so money in itself is not wealth. It is a token of optionality, as Daniel Schmachtenberger calls it, towards what is the real wealth, which is invariably based on the natural world. So that's another way in which we mistake the symbol as more real than the world itself. And maps. When I speak about maps, I might also talk about worldviews or paradigms, because the way we use maps is kind of related to the way we view the world and what we think about the world. And so I think that it is very much necessary that we change maps, as I indicated a couple of times already, and that we repeatedly do the exercise to try to perceive the world as not being made up of separate parts. But I will come back to that in the future as well. I'm going uphill, I'm beginning to feel it. You can see the view behind me of the Somogy landscape. And I wanted to touch upon one more thing. Probably there won't be time to expand on that in this walkie-talkie. But one of the ways in which the maps make it harder for us to see the reality is that we look at our maps more than at the world, which is a really interesting thing when you think about it. And one of the ways in which I've noticed that many times was in my years as a teacher. I've been teaching drawing and painting for 30 years, first in the United States and then in Belgium. And when teaching people to draw and paint, especially people who haven't had much experience in that domain yet, you really begin to see how they, at first, begin to draw what they think about something rather than what they're actually seeing. And this is really something that came up so many times, that people are not really seeing. You have to learn people how to see again, to observe, because we fall back on our maps because they're more simple. As I said in a previous walkie-talkies, the maps are always way more simple than the actual world and the actual terrain. And this is something that was especially true when people were drawing faces, because we have a lot of ideas about faces and we attach a lot of value to it, more than to, let's say, a still life. When people are drawing a bottle, that comes a little bit less in play. But when people are drawing a face or painting it, because they have so many preconceived ideas about what a face looks like, and because they want to do it right, that's another important aspect. They really want to get it right. There is a sort of trying to meet an external expectation, which may or may not be there. It's sort of, it can be imaginary, that expectation, but people really want to do it right. But still they don't look, they fall back on their internal map of what a face looks like. And this was, for example, really apparent when people were trying to draw eyes. Invariably, when people had no prior experience to portrait drawing or painting, what would appear was this kind of iconic almond shape with a round dark dot in the middle, the pupil, and really flat, really schematic, really very much simplified. And then when I tried to make people attentive to what they were actually seeing, what an eye really looks like, then after a while they began to notice that it has nothing to do with the diagram they project onto the face, which they had in their minds as a preconceived idea, which made it harder for them to actually see what was in front of them. The complexity of what a real eye looks like, complexity. And at the same time, the fact that sometimes an eye is hardly visible, and still these people would draw the almond shape with the round dark pupil, almost like an Egyptian hieroglyph or something. So this is not to say these people were not intelligent or something. On the contrary, there is no difference in sort of cognitive abilities or educational background. This applied to pretty much everybody who begins to draw. So it has nothing to do with intelligence, it has nothing to do with prior knowledge about eyes, cognitive knowledge. It's about these diagrams and schematic representations that we all have acquired from childhood onwards. So I will talk more about that because it's really an interesting topic. I'm almost at the top of the hill now, and I will stop for now. We've covered a lot of ground already, literally and figuratively speaking. I will come back to Alfred North Whitehead in the future too, because he's really an interesting figure, and his influence has been tremendous. So I will give you a brief panorama of the surroundings like last time, and with that I will say goodbye to you. It's really a lovely day. I hope you're having a lovely day as well, and to be continued in the next walkie-talkie. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons below this video if you like the walkie-talkies, and if you want to help me reach more people, thanks in advance. It really helps, apparently. So, see you next time. Namaste. So here is a panorama of the surroundings of the village where I spend a lot of time, in the province of Somogy in Hungary. This is quite typical of the area. A lot of agriculture, but a lot of forests still also. And it's quite a beautiful area. It's sort of quiet and modest beauty. Not spectacular, but a really nice energy and a beautiful feel. So that's where I'm heading next. I will continue this road a little bit, and then I will see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.